8th, I officially call the workshop to order. Our first presentation will be by MRB Group on engineering and design results on the Vosburgh Pump Station, estimated cost versus the current 5.7 bonding from June 2024.
Okay, thank you. My name is J.P. Shep. I'm an engineer with MRB Group. I've been working on the project since about early May, when our final design contract was awarded. Just to give you a little background on the station, the Vosburgh Pump Station is located at 601 Vosburgh Road. It was originally constructed through 1979 and 1980. The pump station accepts flows from a big portion of the northwest corner of the town, also flows from Penfield and Monroe County Pure Waters can be diverted to the pump station. The estimated service population is about 8,645 people. Throughout 21 and 22, MRB Group prepared the comprehensive evaluation. This was utilized for preparation of a WIA grant in June of 2024. Unfortunately, we were not successful getting that WIA grant. In June of 2024, the town adopted the $5.7 million bond resolution and completed seeker. Additional grant opportunities were investigated throughout the spring of 2025. And as I mentioned, on about April 30th, our design contract was signed. In March of 31st of 2025, there was also a request for congressionally directed spending. I don't believe that was successful either. In July of 2025, the WQIP, which is a Water Quality Improvement Program, grant application was submitted. That grant is requesting about $4 million. The state has not yet announced the awards on that. We don't know when, but compared to previous years, we're expecting that could happen anytime now. So that's a bit of the background on the schedule. To talk about the pump station a little bit, the pump station is 46 years old. It's been in continuous use for 46 years. Sewer pump stations are very harsh environments. So this is getting, some of the main components of the station are getting pretty old and tired. All there has not been taken out of service since its original construction for any period of time. So due to that harsh environment, we're anticipating we really need an opportunity after all those years of service to get in the wet well and make repairs and update those things that have been underwater for all that period of time. There's a lot of outdated and failing equipment. The ventilation system is badly corroded. There was once a ozone odor control system at the station that's been inoperable for many years. And as I mentioned before, much of the equipment is inoperable. The facility includes a diesel engine generator. Again, that's of that 46-year-old vintage, and it's antiquated in time for updating with more modern equipment and modern controls. So based upon the study that was completed, the rehabilitation is necessary. We'll have to bypass the pump station to facilitate the work done, especially in the wet well and the structural and ventilation improvements. The plan is to replace all 3 pumps, all the piping and all the valves, the instrumentation, and the electrical control systems, the generator, and some of the miscellaneous building components like the doors and things of that nature. In addition, we're going to be improving the bypass capability at the station. There's an undersized bypass available. It's never really been used because it's rather impractical, so we're going to have to replace that ahead of doing the work at the main pump station. There's several air release valves along the force main. This pump station pumps from down in the gully on Vosburg Road, and it goes over to Shoemaker Road, where it discharges into the gravity system. There's several air releases along there that have been inoperable and deteriorated for many years. The discharge manholes deteriorated. That also will need to be replaced. The security measures at the facility are lacking. There's very limited alarm and control information that presently available at the site, and the new project will improve that, the communications and alarm conditions that are available at the new station. We updated since we're basically at final design, we updated the cost estimate, and we presented that to the town back a few weeks ago. And we're at about $1.6 million. I would add, I noted that the bond resolution is for $5.7 million, but we are carrying a pretty healthy contingency of 25%, which is over $1 million in contingency. And if we get this WQIP grant for $4 million, it's going to be a big game changer on the finance of the project. But the seeker was completed, and as noted, we're waiting on that WQIP grant. So that's a project in a nutshell, and in the background in a nutshell. I did share the cost estimate, but if you'd like me to share the updated full cost estimate, I'd be happy to hand it out. I can get it.
So the new cost estimate, as I'm reading here, is 6.1 million, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So
Thank you so much.
I'll get back to the microphone.
Yeah.
So folks can hear me. So our original cost estimates were issued in our 2014 or 2024 engineering report. In that report, we did anticipate 8% escalation per year. So that's where we're at today. And as I noted, a 25% contingency is pretty healthy, that additional $1 million. So at this point, there's a relative comfort for the cost, but, until we go open bids, the construction bidding is very volatile, so we'll see where the chips fall and where this grant situation, if we're successful on receiving the grant.
I would imagine you're going to use much, if not all, of that contingency, given the nature of the project. A lot of this stuff is underground, it's 50 years old, you never know what you're going to find.
I was just thinking the same thing.
So I feel like that $1 million is, well, it's a contingency. I feel like there's
Yeah.
a high probability all of that will
Yeah.
be spent.
I don't know, 25 is a healthy contingency. We wouldn't normally carry that much
Due to the age of the project, though, does
That's a
that tip it the
fact,
other way?
yeah, that's a factor, no question. There's always unforeseen conditions, correct?
Well, there's no doubt that this project needs to be completed as soon as possible, so the sooner we hear from the DEC, the better, and hopefully we have positive news.
That's correct.
We
And-
definitely could use that positive news.
Right, and it will change, if we do receive the grant, as you folks probably know, grants come with strings attached to them.
Yes,
So if we do successfully get the WQIP grant, then we'll have to include minority and women business enterprises and certain other requirements with the bid documents. So that can sway numbers as well.
I have a question for Paul. If we don't get the grant and the new estimate is 6.1 million, are we gonna have to increase the bond?
Yeah. I think either way, just to be safe, we should increase the bond resolution because there are additional soft costs in addition
Right.
to the 6.1 million. So I would take it up to like 6.9 just to be safe, even though I think the project probably will come in around 6 million, maybe a little less.
Do you have any idea of what that additional cost would be, based on history, to
Pardon?
increase the bond amount?
Yeah. The bond amount's 5.7, that's the maximum borrowing, that's the maximum spend. So, yeah, I would recommend increasing the bond amount and the maximum spend.
Yeah, but
just
my
to be
question
safe.
is there an additional cost to increase that amount of money?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying 6.9.
But no, the cost
No.
of facilitating getting the
the
bond,
change
or
of the
their
bond.
administrative fees or other costs
All that
too.
too, the legal and all that stuff.
Any idea, Paul, what that might look like in terms of the actuated finances on that process to update the bond?
What's that?
So just a ballpark in terms of the actual finances behind those costs of updating the bond.
The additional cost to increase that bond,
Oh,
any idea what that would be?
that's actually quite minimal. I mean, Harris Beach, all they need to do is put together a resolution. It's, I don't think they even charge us for that part. They charge us on the back end when we go out for a ban, a one-year
Okay.
ban, and we go out for a cereal bun, so. It's kind of all included.
While the construction's going on, will the residents notice any impact?
Hopefully not. No, we're planning to bypass the entire pump station, so there will be temporary pumps set up at the site. So the normal flows will continue to go to Vosburg, but not into the wet well. We'll be intercepting it and pumping it in the force main just like it is today.
I'm guessing there could be some noise, with bypass pumping, you're gonna have some
Correct.
noise. But that sits down in the valley that pretty much, there's not a lot of residential right next to it that
No, that's pretty, well isolated on the trail there.
yep.
Right.
And is the cost to do that in this?
It is,
Bypass pumping?
yes.
So just for sake of the residents, John made a good point about this project. It's one of those kind of risks that exist that we don't have a choice but to upgrade. But if you wouldn't mind, just to help kind of educate, what would it look like if we did not update this project? Because it's always frustrating, we're talking about $6.1 million for this type of project. But then on the flip side, this is something that matters to the town and there's some serious risk. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of walking through what that failure might look like.
Well, if we have a catastrophic failure there, the wet well would overflow and sewage would run into the nearby creek and through the park. And then there would be massive fines for pollution from the DEC.
Massive cost for cleanup.
Correct, and
All that.
then you're still doing the repair.
Now on an emergency basis though, and not a planned
Yep.
basis.
Correct.
So it's important to get ahead of these projects so you can have some semblance of control while we still know there's function.
That's correct. And there's many modes of failure possible. I mean, we could have an electrical failure, we could have the generator fail, we could have mechanical failures, there's any number of modes of failure.
Yeah.
So It's a pretty important pump station, and as I said, I think we noted that we're serving on the order,
8,600 people.
yeah, on the order of 8,600 people
Mhm.
in a big quadrant of the town.
Thank you for that.
And, this isn't one of the a project that would be spurring development or creating anything like that. This is just taking care of an existing service area.
Yep.
Yeah, based on previous presentations, this is not a project, in my opinion, and I think everybody shares this opinion, including Rick, that we can just shelve for a couple of years. This needed to be done probably at least 5 years ago,
Yeah.
based upon the slides that I've seen, and I've also toured the pump station also.
And then, so yeah, bypassing during construction, that's about, if I've seen that line right, 254,000? And it looks like it's 4 months, so is that the time frame for the project?
Well, that would just be for the period needed for the bypassing.
Okay.
And as we can get, the contractor's gonna wanna get that bypassing done as quickly as he can. So as soon as the work in the wet well is restored, then they can start bringing on the utilizing the old pumps and hopscotching into the new equipment.
Okay. And then how long would be the total project time frame?
Well, I'd say probably about a year and a half.
Okay.
Some of this equipment, this isn't off-the-shelf equipment. These are 3,000 gallon per minute pumps. So you don't just, could take a year just from awarding the contract to when that's ordered and getting it. These pumps in particular, which are one of the well-respected manufacturers, is a company called Flight, and the pumps are manufactured in Sweden. So, like many things in specialized treatment equipment, which I'm sure you're experiencing with your wastewater project, these things can have 1 year lead times on them. That doesn't mean we're gonna have to limp along with what we got until we get these things, but just getting equipment can be very
Okay.
time.
So about 18 months and about 4 months with the bypass, which is when there might be the max resident disruption then?
I would say that's correct.
Okay.
Now, Paul, where did we land on if we have to have a public hearing or not for this bond, if we have to increase the bond resolution?
Well, so I would recommend doing the bond resolution prior to going out to bid.
Yeah, but we were debating whether or not we had to have a public hearing in order to do it, which would delay us a little bit further.
On this one, our bond counsel said that we do not need a public hearing, so we can just go ahead and pass the resolution
Okay.
at our discretion.
Okay, thank you.
And then the legal fees, is that also additional because of the nature of the project, or is that standard, the 15%? Because it's an extra, I don't know, $1.8 million in contingencies and legal administration and engineering. What's included in those?
Well, you've already incurred a substantial fee with MRB.
Correct.
Is that included in that 650? What
Yes.
we already paid, the 300,000 is already included in that for the design work?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I thought that was incremental to what we already had paid,
All right,
so,
so you've actually built that into the
That's built
6.1.
in the total
Okay.
project cost,
All right.
correct.
thank you
I
for
wasn't
that.
clear on that.
Good question.
Anyone else from the board have a question?
I don't have any questions, it's just another project that has to get done. The salt barn is in a similar position. Maybe the salt barn has a couple extra years, maybe, maybe not. I'm sort of hopeful after these few projects, we might be through the big infrastructure updates.
We can only hope.
We can only hope.
But if there are no further questions from the board, we can move on to our next presentation by Maria Dewar on updating us on the 5 CFA grants the town applied for on July 31st, including Bossburg.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who do not know me or haven't heard my previous presentations, my name is Maria Dewar. I am the Administrative Assistant for Community Development and Engineering, as well as the Town Grant Liaison. I am here to give an update about the CFA applications that the town submitted by the due date of July 31st. We have responses and know the awards for 2 of the 5 grants that we applied for. I'm going to go through the slides and give a review of the project, what was asked for and what was received. If no response has been received yet, I'll make note of that. Okay? So first, we have the Sandbar Park project. It was, we applied for design and permitting for phase 2 and 3 of the project. This was based off of feedback that we received from the grant committee when we were not awarded in 2024. Originally in 2024, we had applied for design, permitting, and construction of phase 2 only. The committee had suggested that we break it into 2 parts and include phase 3. So the 2 parts they wanted us to break it down to were design and permitting and then construction. So for the LWRP Sandbar Park, we asked for $262,844. And we were awarded $281,595. So that project will be going forward. We'll be meeting as a group. So the grant team will be meeting and deciding next steps. So we will begin working on that while we're waiting for our contract to come.
Do you know what the cost was for the design for phase 2 and 3?
Well, the town ask was what we had estimated that those expenses would be.
Okay.
The next group, the next grant that we applied for was the GIS mapping and data expansion through the non-agricultural, non-point source planning and MS4 mapping grant, or NPG for short. This grant is housed under the DEC. This project was applied for to offset consultant fees for the GIS mapping program that we are working on to expand at the town level. The maximum award to be awarded is $75,000, so we asked for the maximum. This, as it's under the DEC, is one of the grants that we have not received an answer on yet. There are 2 other grants that are in the same boat. I'm going to get a little ahead of myself, but those are Salt Barn Grant and the Bossburg Grant. I did speak with the DEC today, and their official word is that they will post the answers as soon as possible. They do not have a suspected date of when that's going to occur. The advice is to just keep checking the website. So that is what I'm doing, and I have alerts set up so that the minute that anything is awarded, I will know. And just like the grant for LWRP, the Sandbar Park grant, they don't make you aware of if you've been awarded before everyone else. They essentially send out a packet with a list of everyone who was awarded a grant. So they're not letting the individual municipalities know beforehand and telling them, like, keep it quiet until we make a public announcement. Everyone's learning at the same time. The next grant we applied for was in partnership with the Village of Webster through the Reimagine Webster project. This is a brownfield opportunity grant that was applied for. The project is for preliminary design for improvements to the town recreation complex. This is the town portion only. There is, the village also has components. The town ask was $84,000 for the amphitheater, realigned driveway, new parking, and shelter structure with restrooms. That's the town part of the project. The village part takes the lion's share of the money. That was awarded. The BOA grant, the full amount awarded is $343,800. The Town Parks and Recreation Department, Chris Bilo, they will be part of the grant team with WIDA and the village representatives. The next project is the salt barn. We had asked for $600,000, which is the maximum that you could ask for. This is to replace and rebuild the salt barn located at the Highway Department. As mentioned prior, it is part of a grant under the DEC, so we do not have any news on that yet. The final grant that we applied for is the Vosburg Pump Station. It is another WQIP grant, also under the DEC. We asked for $2,671,875. This was based on the $5.7 million bonded in 2024. The grant team, if awarded, would be updated to be just Rick Keneally, Marianne Lamb, and MRB, and anyone else that Rick and Marianne would like to include on that, along with MRB. And again, no news, unfortunately. I had included this next slide, Shipbuilders Creek. We did not apply for this grant. That was one of the original 6 that we had proposed to apply for. At the time, the board had voted to not apply for that one. So that's something that we could apply for maybe down the line, maybe next year.
There was $1 million of improvements done to that shipbuilders at one point, wasn't there? Just to mitigate some of the issues.
Just to shore things up.
Yeah.
Are there any questions?
No, but I
Thank
really
you.
hope we get that,
All of them?
well,
All of them,
all of them,
please.
yes. But that Vosburg one is really
The biggest priority, yeah.
the greatest priority for sure. Followed by the salt barn.
Now,
From
for
an
anyone who,
infrastructure.
sorry, Jen.
No, I'm just saying
Yeah.
from an infrastructure perspective.
We did originally have one other presentation, but it was on the salt barn, and we are waiting to hear about the grant, so we can have all the information. The grant actually adjusts the presentation, so that will be done in 2 weeks instead. So we actually have a little bit of time to sit and chat and take a potty break, so that closes out the January 8th workshop.